Yeah. So, okay, so this is basically the third time we started this video. It's kind of my bad. I should have prepared it better, but I wanted to have an organic conversation between the two of us about some smart stuff that we're working on. So, basically, this is a good friend of mine. We kind of know each other since we were like 9 years old or something like that, and we're
even younger.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
And we're 22 now, so it's basically the majority of our lives and everything. So he's actually going to college, university, and I'm the college dropout fuck up kid. So it's kind of good for me to have somebody to kind of have as a bouncing board to have ideas off, and we've always been able to do that with each other's like kind of creative process and everything. So as you know, I just returned a couple of days ago from LA, and as I said in the previous intro from the video that we were shooting, I kind of it was an eye-opening moment because I saw a lot of like homeless people, but I also saw like 5 or 6 Rolls Royces in that same street where people have tents and sleeping bags to sleep in. So it's kind of a very weird duality to see people at the upper echelon of like success and like financial success at least, but then also people that are at the very bottom of it and don't have a lot to kind of call their own.
Yeah.
So it is like a weird anxiety-inducing, eye-opening moment for me to kind of say like these are the possibilities of where your life can go. Neither of them actually mean happiness or like what you feel would be the best outcome of your life, because sometimes people could be financially well off and miserable, but that is kind of what I took away from it. Like, what would be, you kind of become a little bit of fearful of the outcome of your own life and kind of other stuff that kind of go through my head the whole time. So the way to combat that and to kind of get rid of those fears for me has always been to kind of create my own fantasy world and to kind of design those things. That has kind of always been my motivation behind making stuff. So I do want to make also objects that are more towards that luxury side, because that is also where I feel like I want to end up at eventually. I'm not too materialistic, but I like nice cars for sure. So that has kind of always been my dream too. So yeah, I wanted to with that newfound like perspective, but with that gain information, I kind of wanted to design a car that is based for the future that I feel uncertain about. That is basically what I wanted to do. So for 2040, I'm going to be designing a car that I don't want to say yet if it's gonna be like a 4-seater, because as we said in the previous iteration of this video, how many people do you actually need to transport? What would be the wise thing to do and everything? So I don't yet know how many people will be able to seat in this car, but what I do know for sure is that it's probably going to be an electric car if you look at where the cars evolve into. And also, now that I think electric cars will become every car, like I don't think it will die off.
I don't think it'll die off completely.
Internal combustion engines I'm talking about.
But eventually the shift between going electric and going gasoline, like gas filled, I think eventually the electric side will become so cheap,
for sure,
that it'll
and also with the power benefit of an electric car, that it just becomes way more efficient and everything.
When the efficiency just rises and the gasoline just becomes a big hassle, also you have to pump it out and all those type of things. So people eventually it'll eventually die out,
but
in cars.
But also today, like how much of a percentage of a market share is actually like based on sports cars? How many people actually drive around in cars that are gas guzzling? How much of a percentage of like an actual impact would it have if you put it on a pie graph or something? You know what I mean?
Like how do you mean?
If you look at big V12 engines, not even big V12 engines, even like just sports cars, like a car that's producing more than 300 horsepower, let's just put it in that category. How many of those, what percentage of the market share of cars that is being sold or on the road are actually those type of cars? Like it's very little.
Yeah.
So
much? But everybody else, what do they drive?
So that's what I'm saying. If everybody else that is used to like regular cars is driving electric cars, how much of an impact would a big V12 Lamborghini still have? doesn't matter if somebody's driving around in it. And also on top of that, there are different ways or different gases that aren't as harmful to the environment, or that could actually like be from volcanoes. I've seen some crazy stuff that people are collecting gases from volcanoes that would actually be pumped directly into the atmosphere, but then you can capture them and then use them as fuels for your cars, and then
go out.
So that would then even be good for the environment to burn that gas instead of having it just free in the atmosphere.
Open, yeah.
So that is also like one of those things to take into consideration, I guess. But we decided like let's skip internal combustion engines for a little bit, even though I do think that they will still be around. But for the car I'm designing, I wanted to go with this in-wheel hub electric motor that you're seeing and everything. So design-wise, there's some crazy stuff that can be done with it, because let's say if you have like an open hollow spoke like this, the old way to produce downforce would be to actually attach a fan to the internal part of it, and to have like a tunnel ducting to the other side, the underside of it, and then you can have like a fan car that you use the rotation of the wheel actually to suck out the air on the bottom of the car to produce downforce under it. So you could do weird stuff like that to it. So the possibilities of skipping a combustion engine, a gearbox, a differential, prop shafts, to keep all of those components out of a car kind of open up a lot of space that you can now do weird stuff to. Like you're no longer bound to having an air intake because you're using an electric motor. So the efficiency of it might be even to a point where you don't need cooling for it. If you can get to like a very high percentage of effective energy being used and no waste energy being into heat or something, you know. So those are crazy things that are coming in the next 20 years. So yeah, anything like what are the possibilities that you see if you would just have four wheels that can propel themselves and put a car forward without adding any type of internal combustion engine or a gearbox? Like what would you do with that additional space right now?
So the world population is growing, so you could move more people.
Okay.
In the same
space
that the car takes.
But are those people going to be mobile? Do you need to transport that amount of people?
That's something for the future.
Yeah, but what you're saying though, like this would be a great concept to use if you're doing like public transport or something, because you could have a bus that is just basically
4 wheels and just a plateau,
and there you go, because it would be powerful enough to basically transport that whole bus. It has enough power, like even to make it very fast still.
Yeah,
that is possible.
It will cost less to produce it.
I think so too.
What other benefits?
Talking about cost, 3D printing. A machine like that is gonna run you, at that time, let's just say this, in 2015 when I bought my first 3D printer, it was very similar to the one that I have now, but I had to put every little screw and I had to do everything myself to put it together. The thing was 700 euros. I think for this 3D printer is a Creality C10. It came like damn near already put together, and I didn't really have to do too much to it, and it's way better quality, prints out stuff at a way more reliable rate than the 700 euro one was. And in a time span of 4 years, it was capable of just becoming a functioning machine for literally the half of the price. I think I paid 350 euros for it or something.
Oh wow.
So that is what 4 years can do. In that time, the only two materials that you could also buy to print were PLA and ABS. And for ABS, you needed a heated print bed, and it would be beneficial to have it also in an isolated cell because you need to create like a constant temperature to be printing in. And then PLA would be more for like regular day users that didn't have like a setup to keep the temperatures that steady, and it would be easier to print material and everything. The amount of plastics that can be printed today is crazy. You can print like carbon fiber reinforced plastics. So just like you have concrete that you would pour into like a metal frame, and then the metal would be to reinforce the concrete. Then you would have like small strains of carbon fiber like fibers within the plastic that are printed in the same direction as it's being laid in to actually enforce it and to make it stronger and stuff. So
Those type of things, yeah.
So those are the developments that are currently taking place and that have been taking place over the last couple of years. So within the next 20 years, we can also see that metal 3D printing is even already being implemented. So would it be possible to have a fully metal 3D printed electric motor?
I guess so.
I think it would be pretty easy even.
Mm-hmm.
Because already today we can see that with the FDM style printers that the reality is right now, you can already switch materials. You have like material changers or print head changes that you can
You can just pick it up and put it on.
but with that you can print two different materials at the same time. So if you want to print like support material out of glue that is water soluble, you can do it like that, and then have the print itself like laying on top of that and print it out of ABS or PLA or something, or even the carbon fiber that I was talking about. So that would be very easy to have like a iron shell with copper stators in the middle of it, and then switching those materials out like that layer by layer to very precisely print out the way of where the copper would conduct the electricity to create these magnetic fields and everything within the electric motor. So then you would be able to get to a level where electric motor kind of looks even smaller than that, I think, probably, and produce more power still.
Yeah, you could just integrate a lot more into the open space for the wheel. So
I think that is gonna be crazy, for sure. But also with computer optimization, you could then kind of go to one of these cells that is trying to produce like a high magnetic field in, and you can tell the computer that you want it to change the shape of everything until it finds the maximum amount of magnetic forces being produced within that space to kind of bring the maximum amount of rotation to that motor. And then you can have a computer do a number of like how do you call it, simulations and stuff, until you get to the ultimate version of it. So then you could even get way smaller and lighter and also like temperature optimized. Then we would be able to calculate ourselves, because the computers are just getting way better than us at doing stuff like that. So I think that is gonna be crazy. So is the weight gonna be even a penalty?
I think it might even be a thing that you need to do something with.
Well,
Because eventually, if you start taking out all these components and it becomes super light,
yeah,
there are other things that has influence on. Like for
what?
instance, if something like this, how much would it weigh? If you just need 4 wheels,
I don't know.
like let's say, okay, this wheel maybe 50 kilos.
But that's the thing. If it is 50 kilos, then that's a bad thing, because if you would look at all of the regular components that it is exchanging, you want it to have the unsprung mass of a car, so everything that is not like solid mounted to the body, that is going to be you want to keep the weight of that as low as possible, because either it's going to rotate or it's going to be like part of the suspension that is moving up and down.
So not too heavy moving parts.
Yeah, because if it
it's not
is 50 kilos, then you would also get the kinetic energy of 50 kilos trying to push up if it's going over a bump, and that you would feel that in with more vibration and everything.
Okay.
So, but I think that with the metal 3D printing, that it could get to a very either a similar level of weight to like a full wheel assembly unsprung mass that we have today, or maybe even lighter, because if you could take the brake rotors and the pads and the caliper and the suspension upright and all of these components, if you could take those out of the equation, and also like the rim spokes, and now you only have basically the barrel of a rim within the 3D printed components of the electric motor within it, I think you might even save weight if you can really like optimize it and look down the range and everything. So that would be crazy.
Yeah,
I think. And also in design wise, if you would have 4 wheels like this on a car, I think you could do some crazy design stuff to it too, because you could even like put a logo in the middle of it or something, like the Rolls-Royce thing that stays in the center. You could do some stuff like that, or you could
with magnets or something, and it's just
make it turn into a light show.
Could you put like the suspension maybe in the middle of the wheel?
Yeah, I was planning on doing that too.